We've seen in Arthur Wilder Smith's critique of the proposed origin of life chemistry, and also in episodes 17 to 20, that the story of evolution of life from lifeless chemicals is a pipe dream. And nobody even tries to answer Karl Popper's analysis, which we saw in episode 21. So there really is no credible explanation for how life could have begun without a designer. And a super intelligent designer at that, as Professor Fred Hoyle deduced from his researches. So, if life could not have started just by chance, then the attempts by evolutionists to demonstrate that life could have then pulled itself up by its bootstraps to make creatures as complex as men by chance is useless to their real purpose, which is denying the existence of a creator. So they came up with a plan to discredit the creator by pointing to some aspects of various creatures and claiming they are so badly designed they could not have been designed by someone who knew what he was doing. They must have been designed by the haphazard process of evolution. The famous evolutionist Stephen Jay Gould gave a list of such bad designs, but the one he singled out as the most convincing was what he called the panda's thumb. He wrote a whole book on it. He claimed that an intelligent designer would have designed something more like a human thumb, whereas the panda's thumb is just like one would expect of evolution, a crudely modified bone. That argument is rather stupid. Man has a versatile thumb because he was designed to do all kinds of different things, like holding a pen or a musical instrument, handling a fishing rod, and working with tools. A panda, on the other hand, eats bamboo for more than 12 hours a day. 99% of a panda's diet is bamboo. He doesn't need a multi-purpose thumb. And he has a normal thumb anyway. Like all thumbs, it has 3 bones. The panda's thumb lies parallel to the 4 fingers, each of which have 4 bones, just like the bears and raccoons, and many other creatures. What Gould calls the panda's thumb is a little projection from his wrist, which is perfectly designed to grip bamboo. Very useful for a creature which spends almost all of its time, when it's not asleep, harvesting and eating bamboo. It looks as if Gould only called it a thumb so he could claim it's a badly designed thumb. But of all the claims for bad design, the most popular is the human eye. Darwin started the trend by comparing the eye's lens with that of a camera. One of the most frequently quoted such criticisms was made by Helmholtz in 1863. If an optician sold me an instrument having the errors exhibited by the eye, it would be in order for me to express my dissatisfaction with the quality of his work in the strongest terms and return the instrument forthwith. The evolutionists argue that if an all-powerful and knowing God had made the eye, he would have made a lens far better than an optician could make. It's therefore much more reasonable to believe it came about by evolution, in which case you wouldn't expect it to be perfectly designed. Well, if the eye was there to take photographs, that might be a valid argument. But the eye does not take photographs. It makes life as we know it possible by supplying the brain with a continuous stream of information which takes account of the rapidly changing situation all around us. To do that, it has muscles which can quickly change the shape of the lens. It must be able to adjust rapidly. to different intensities of light. To do that, it has an iris, which can expand or contract to change the amount of light entering the eye. It must be able to turn quickly to the most important things and concentrate on them, while still keeping in view peripheral things which might pose a threat or be important in some other way. It has muscles for that. And all this has to be done by converting a stream of optical signals to chemical signals, then to nerve impulses which travel to the imaging system of the brain. And this has to be done so clearly, accurately, and quickly that a batsman facing a fast bowler can follow the trajectory of a ball moving at more than 140 kilometers an hour. And in less than a half second between the ball leaving the bowler's hand and reaching him, he must decide whether to leave the ball, block it, hit it for six, steer it away past a fielder, or dodge out of its way, and then achieve what he decided to do all in less than half a second. Professor Werner Gitt, a German professor of information science, estimated that the brain can process information at the rate of 10 to the power 18 calculations every second. About 70% of all this information comes from the eyes. This means that the signals from the eyes need 7 times 10 to the power 17, which is 700,000 million calculations every second. It would take quite a number of supercomputers to process all that information. The evolutionists who compare the lens of the eye to the lens of a camera point out correctly that the part of the lens which images the area of clear vision is good, but going away from this area, the performance falls off significantly. The area of peripheral vision is not very sharp, and here we see a sound engineering judgment being applied. With a limit of 700,000 million calculations per second, if the whole field of vision were to be serviced equally, then the quality would be equally good everywhere, but it would be inferior to the current quality where it really counts, in the central area of the field of vision. The area of peripheral vision needs only to be adequate for detecting possible obstructions or dangers. I think we can see here that there's absolutely no possibility for the random chance events of evolution producing anything close to the brilliant engineering of the eye. But evolutionists are not finished yet. They say the eye is badly designed for other reasons, such as the receptors, the rods and cones, and the optic nerves are wired backwards. The receptors should be at the front. Well, for an octopus's eye, which never has to process bright sunlight, their idea would be valid. But in an eye which does have to cope with bright light on sensitive receptors, there have to be blood vessels to carry the heat away from the rods and cones before they get damaged. So the choroid, which has a very high rate blood supply, is right next to the rods and cones to remove the heat. This arrangement works magnificently, but if it had been designed, as the evolutionists say, with the rods and cones at the front of the retina, then the choroid would have to be between the receptors and the lens. Then we might see red, but not much else. For evolutionists to suggest that the eye is not the work of an intelligent designer suggests that they have their own eyes firmly closed against the truth. Thank you for joining me for this episode. If you enjoyed it, Please like, subscribe, and press the bell so that you'll be notified as I release new movies. If you'd like to support this project, you're welcome to do so through Patreon. Find the link on my channel banner and in the description below.